What's up, folks? What is going on with you? Hoping this finds you well. This is BQ. I've got TW in the place to be. This is the Cool Factor podcast brought to you by the Impact Lounge. Didn't have an episode for you guys last week. Just my schedule did not allow it. Like TW was ready to go at like 2, 3 in the morning. I was like, no. My schedule just flat out did not allow it last week, and but we are back again in the place to be with the podcast this week. So we're not going to be running down the episode of Impact. As I've told you guys before, the format might change from show to show. The topics might change, and if we feel like there's an episode where something just didn't happen or just wasn't worth talking about or whatever, we're just kind of not going to, and we're just going to talk about what's what the news is, what's the big stuff going on. So that's pretty much what we're going to do today. We're going to talk a little bit about the big announcement with the World Championship and the main event for the pay-per-view. And then we're going to kind of run down the sacrifice and the card, maybe a couple of predictions, and we're just gonna leave it at that. So real smooth, real breezy, real easy today. So let's get into this, TW. Let's get into what the big announcement was on the episode of Impact. So the world title that Moose holds, that he's been holding, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, Scott D'Amore made it an official title. And it's and we're under the impression he might be defending the title, as a mid card title, but they're just going to unify the belt. So he had the one defense, and now Rich Swann's going to take on Moose at Sacrifice, and the titles are going to be unified. And the winner of this match is going to take on Kenny Omega. Is this hindsight's 2020? Do you think that is this something you kind of saw coming as far as the unification?
No, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't see the unification coming. It makes sense, but I didn't really see it coming. Like, this whole TNA World Title idea, to me seemed like a welcome idea because, for one, it looks way better than the Impact World Title. Two, what I originally said, the current, mid-card title is basically the X Division title. And, I just don't think, I think the X Division is a dated concept. So the idea of having a mid-card championship that has some lineage and some legacy to it and is a callback to the genesis of this company, all made sense, right? Of like making this a quote unquote legitimate title, on Impact, right? That idea made sense. And so I didn't see the idea of them unifying it. And I don't know, man. I can't say I love it. I can't say I love it because this is not necessarily where I thought this was going. Because when he first mentioned that both titles would be on the line, I was like, man, so I guess they're just finding a way to take this title off TV. And then when he announced that the winner of this match would be going against Kenny Omega at Rebellion, I was like, man, I don't feel good about this. I don't feel good about this because I don't feel like, well, I mean, Phil Schmill, right? Like, there's no way in hell that the winner of the Rich Swann Moose match is beating Kenny Omega at Rebellion. It's not happening. Kenny Omega is, he's having a great run right now. They're talking about him as being the best wrestler on the planet, and they're going to have him do the belt collector gimmick, right? And so Impact will be a casualty of that. Impact in the world title will be a casualty of that. But here's my thing. I was totally okay with Impact playing a role in Kenny Omega's belt collector gimmick, but I was okay with it under the idea that Rich Swann would lose the title to Kenny Omega. Moose would be mad at Rich Swann for losing the title before Moose could take it from Rich Swann. And then Moose would eventually win the title back from Kenny Omega later in the year. But if Moose let's say Moose beats Rich Swann this weekend at Sacrifice, and then Moose goes on to lose the title to Kenny Omega at Rebellion. Well, you've already beaten Moose, so who the hell can get the title back from Kenny Omega then? You know, like Moose has about 2 years worth of, like I said, of momentum that's all been building into a world title run. And if you're gonna blow all that just to continue Kenny Omega's, big push, then what do you have left? Again, where's our guys? Where's the guys that the Impact fans can, put their arms around and say, we're going to get behind this guy. We support this guy. This is our guy. This is our flag waver, right? Moose had a chance to kind of become that guy. But if the plan is to win the title, hold it for a month, and then lose it to Kenny Omega, I don't know, man. I don't see Impact coming out of this looking good.
So I didn't upload on the YouTube channel from this morning, and I actually took the complete opposite stance on this, and it's fantasy booking. I really thought about this because I'm thinking, dude, this whole partnership has been so lopsided and so one-sided. I'm like, if their world champion loses to Kenny Omega, I was like, there's no coming. The way I'm thinking it, like, there's no coming back from that. There's no coming back from the Impact world title being on AEW. Like, at that point, like you just said, if Kenny beats Swann, Moose, who the hell is there to beat him? Eddie Edwards is a possibility, but I think let me ask you this first before I kind of get into my fantasy booking. Do you think that these titles are really going to be unified this Saturday, or do you think we're going to get a fuck finish and it'll be a triple threat?
Yeah, so you tweeted something which I thought was actually pretty interesting, and I thought that might be their way out of this, which is if they do some sort of screw finish this week where both Moose and Rich Swann end up keeping their titles, and then we end up with a triple threat between Moose and Swann and Omega at Rebellion. I could see something like that. But the face that could potentially save is you could save Moose from having to take the fall in that match, right? Therefore, you still keep Moose alive to potentially get that title off of Kenny Omega later in the year. But, another interesting angle to this is, according to our good friend Lewis Carlin, Moose's contract is up this summer. And so if that's the case, then they may have no intention of putting that title on Moose for any type of long-term run.
Yo, so, that hasn't stopped this company before from putting a
that's
title.
That's fact. That is a fact.
That's actually become the norm. Like, when's your contract up? Next week? Do we have an opportunity for you?
Right.
Like, I feel like the Medusa dropping the title into the trash can thing is going to happen at some point with Impact. Like, one of these days, they're going to put the title on someone who really, really does take it to another company. They need to watch that shit.
Well, I mean, so I've been on the side of, this whole AEW healing on Impact thing is all part of a larger work, leading to some sort of story. But I don't know that everyone is in on it. In the words of the homie Terry, jabroni marks don't get caught up working a work and work themselves into a shoot because they don't know a work is a work, and they, working to work. And so I think, I think like just the tone is set for AEW wrestlers to just crap on Impact whenever they get a chance. Like you saw on AEW when, Moxley was like, oh, we did something terrible. It was Impact's fault.
That was actually kind of funny the way
it and I don't know, man. I think Impact is gonna have to save some face in this relationship at some point, and so the question is when and how.
So here's my thing. I'm sorry, I'll let you finish your point.
No. Go ahead. I mean,
Okay,
I was
so
gonna say the only card I could possibly think they could play is sending Deanna Perrazzo to come tap out Sheeta. Other than that, I don't know what else they could do.
you got it. You make a good point there. That would kind of shift the momentum a little. Uh, Sheeta's had that title for a pretty long time. So here's my thing, dude. Uh, what if there's a world where Don Callis, remember he screwed John Moxley the to get the title on Kenny Omega.
Right,
What if there's a world where he screws Kenny Omega and sides with Moose? And because you remember there was the whole angle where they ran into we joke about bumping into each other in the hallway,
right.
where Moose and Don Callis had that bumped into each other in the hall before the pay-per-view, and Don Callis was like shit, like kind of showing that he is very intimidated by Moose and thinks Moose is a big time player. And it made me think of Paul Heyman once upon a time telling Brock Lesnar, if you can't F5 the Big Show, you can't beat the Big Show. And then turning on Brock Lesnar at the pay-per-view and siding with the Big Show, who he thought was unbeatable. you know so I'm reminded of this story a little. But if Callis were to turn on Omega and the AEW World Title comes to Impact Wrestling, in a very roundabout way, everything would really make sense that's been going on the last several months, of where it's really lopsided, and these guys are allowed to get these paid ads and talk all this crap, and make Impact look inferior, and everyone's just assuming that Kenny Omega is going to take the title. Rich Swann takes the pin at the pay-per-view. Like, I'm just thinking, and again, this is fantasy booking, but I feel like there's a bigger picture. I think there's some kind of swerve, some kind of bigger picture here than just like the cookie cutter, like Kenny Omega's just going to come and win the title and all that shit. Um, I really got into it a little bit more this morning on YouTube because it was fresh on my mind. But I think it's going to be a triple threat, and I'm not counting out that Impact doesn't win the title. It's just a complete freaking swerve. And if that were to happen, he Impact wouldn't have the title very long, because AEW is not going to have their world title on a taped show.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that is the one side of this where it's like, man, it's really hard to see Impact winning this match, because here's this live show and we're gonna we're gonna hand off our belt.
Yeah, I don't see any scenario in which I could think they would let an Impact. What have we seen from this relationship so far that would make you think they would let that happen?
We haven't seen that, and that's why I'm saying there's a possibility that, because dude, when I've talked with someone at Impact, they keep telling me cool shit is coming, cool shit is coming. It's all leading to something. I remember I remember I shot a message saying, dude, when Rich Swann took that pin at Hard to Kill, it like hurt my heart, and I was told like it's going somewhere. So I'm being very, very optimistic, and I know that it's really, really unlikely, but I just see a scenario where I'm just saying I see the scenario where it was a Don Callis masterminded plan to, because remember, this is his company at the end of the day. I know he keeps talking shit. Hey, this is the real world champion and da 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 da. But I still see a scenario where it's a masterminded plan to get that title onto his show.
Right.
So I'm not saying it's gonna happen. I don't even think it's probably a 1% chance that it's gonna playing out the way that I'm saying it. But there's just something inside me that, I keep saying Impact's doing all this cookie cutter shit. There's something with this though that just tells me it's not cookie cutter. Like, I just feel like there's something more coming from it, and I just don't think it's as simple as, hey, Kenny's just gonna come and be the belt collector, because Moxley could screw him over. Like, there's a lot of different things that they could do.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of different things they could do, but I think ultimately this is Kenny Omega's story, not Impact Wrestling story. And I think that's the
It's a good point.
That's kind of like, right. That's the problem here. That's the problem here. If you're an Impact person, right, is that this is Kenny Omega's story, and everyone else just kind of bit players. Like the Impact, excuse me, the Impact talent that's been on AEW is the Good Brothers, right? And what role are the Good Brothers playing? They are Kenny Omega's homies. So really, like, we're all just seeing the story of Kenny Omega play out.
Mm-hmm. You
So
know,
if Kenny Omega is the story, then why in the world would any, you know what I mean? Especially if Kenny Omega is the story and he's the bad guy. You know, if Kenny Omega was the heroic guy, then it would make sense to say, hey, Big Bad Moose is gonna come take your title. You gotta fight your way to get it back. But that's not what we're doing. Kenny Omega's the heel.
right. You know, part of the reason I had said this morning I see a triple threat is I remember when Bret Hart wrestled Shawn Michaels. You know, back when it was like a real big deal. And
Mm-hmm.
it was a different kind of match that what WWF put on at the time, because usually it was Hulk Hogan was the world title against someone way bigger than him, or in a lot of cases someone a lot smaller than him. But Brett and Shawn was that first, like, these guys are the same exact height and stature and size, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean. And it added a really different element to the to things at the time. And then I think of this match, and I'm just like, okay, Rich Swann is 5'8", Kenny Omega probably 6'2", I'm guessing. And then Moose is taller than that. I see three guys that are I just can't see the much shorter Rich Swann taking on Kenny Omega, or the much taller Moose taking on Kenny Omega. Like I'm where they're both heels, like I can't see where this is not a triple threat, because
Yeah.
they've become allergic to one-on-one matches, dude. And
Well, the triple threat actually kind of makes sense because, like I said earlier, it allows a little wiggle room for whoever you don't want to make look bad to not have to take the pin, right? So they can always have a gripe, oh, I got screwed out because I didn't have a champion's advantage, or it was a triple threat, yada yada yada, right? Like, so for that reason, I could totally see the triple threat being a good idea. Plus, like, people are addicted to this, like, the more high, fast paced car crash style of a match you can put on. That's just what people want to do now. So a triple threat fits that perfectly.
it does, and it just fits what Impact is really doing lately. Like they have a pay-per-view, they put everybody on the card. Like, what the hell else is Moose gonna do if he's not in this match? What's Rich Swann gonna do?
No clue.
You know
No
what I mean?
clue.
So that's just kind of our thing. I'm gonna ask you this question because I asked this question on YouTube this morning. Do you think that Eddie Edwards should be in this spot? Should have been in this spot? Like, I'm talking from like Hard to Kill up till now, because this is the one I don't know if a disconnect is the right word, but neither Swann or Moose is like the face of Impact Wrestling. I know Moose is Mr. Impact Wrestling, and he's actually one of the longest tenured guys. But if you were to put someone in the category of like the face of the company, that the person who most embodies Impact Wrestling, like Eddie Edwards is sort of that dude,
Mm-hmm.
and he's about the same size as Kenny Omega. Um, do you think that Moose and Swann were like the right people for this, or do you think, especially as loyal as he's been, like Eddie Edwards should have been that dude from the beginning?
No, no. Moose and Swan are the right people for this because, um, you know, here's the thing: Impact Wrestling has failed miserably to make us love Rich Swann. Rich Swann has a catalog of matches over the last 3 years that is outstanding. Like, we talked about this a few weeks ago, right? Like, didn't he have like a 5-star match with John Moxley? Not John Moxley, John Moore,
John
yeah,
Morrison, you talking at
yes, John
Johnny
Morrison.
Impact? You talking at
Yeah, he had a great match with John Morrison. He's, I mean, honestly, really, if you go back and look at all his pay-per-view matches over the last, 2-3 years, phenomenal work. But from a storytelling standpoint, right? Impact has not presented Rich Swann as somebody who we need to love somebody who we need to be, you know, uh we just got to see everything he's doing because he's such a big deal. Like they have not done that. So Rich Swann, when given the opportunity, he puts on a great match. And I think we saw that in the Hard to Kill 6-man tag team match. Rich Swann and Moose both took their games to a whole nother level. And that just goes to show you the thing about wrestling, right? Is like when you put wrestlers in what they feel is a big spot, then you're going to get their performance at a higher level. I bet you can go back and think of any match that you just couldn't wait to see because the build was just so good and it felt like a big deal. And I bet you'll go watch that match and feel like the guys in that match were performing at another level. And in the Hard to Kill main event, the 6-man tag match, Moose and Rich Swann were performing at a higher level because that match felt like a big deal. And so I have all the confidence in the world that when Moose and or Rich Swann go against Kenny Omega at Rebellion, that they will perform at a higher level. And so, and again, to Rich Swann's credit, that's all he's done is perform at a high level. Rich Swann hasn't put out a crappy performance that I can remember, honestly, since he's been in Impact Wrestling, right? So yes, Rich Swann, I think, is definitely a right person to be there from a performance standpoint. Then when it comes to Moose, Moose has been on Impact TV for like what, 4, 5, 6 years now. But at this point, he is kind of a rising star, right? Like he's getting himself into elite physical shape. He's always had an incredible amount of ability inside the ring, but now he's wrestling like somebody who is his size. He's wrestling with that mean streak. He's not trying to do cruiserweight moves and be like, oh, look, hey, aren't you impressed? I'm so big and I can do this stuff. Like, no, instead he's just like, hey, I'm big. Watch me beat this person to a bloody pulp, right? And that's the way he's performing now. And so you put that guy in the ring with Kenny Omega, and it's something that's going to be good to see, right? So yes, I think they both are the right people to be in this spot. I don't think Impact has anybody better who could be in this spot right now, to be honest with you.
In their defense, because I know you said they fell miserably in making us leverage one. In their defense, before he got hurt, his momentum was pretty good. Remember he had that gauntlet. They did the gauntlet match. The Tessa
Yep, I
Blanchard,
remember that.
like he was a star and he really stood out. And people were talking about Rich Swann the next day, like damn, like everyone was really behind him. And then the momentum got kind of halted. And then I think when he came back, they just tried to pick up where they left off instead of I don't know. I think that he ended up with the title pretty quickly because I think it was a ride that everyone was ready to go on. Like, hey, Rich Swann might be getting to the world title, but
right.
I thought it happened a little quick the way they did it. I mean, they were just hot shotting the title at the time. It was what we had like 4 world champions last year.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Yeah, I know what you mean, and also I was just remembering Eddie Edwards is the kendo stick is named Kenny.
Right.
That would have been interesting. But yeah, if that was the feud, we'd have Eddie Edwards running around every week going Kenny. Like he is Lich,
Oh,
Sammy.
right.
So yeah, so I think we expected this to be the main event for the pay-per-view, though. I think all along people were like, okay, Kenny's going to wrestle for the world title. And this is a big deal because it's rare that you get two. I can't think of anything where 2 world titles from 2 companies were on the line in the same match. I mean, it's pretty historic, actually. And I don't know if you saw this article a couple days ago that because you were saying you felt the Hard to Kill was going to be their highest buy rated pay per view. it actually came in behind Slammiversary. So
Oh,
Slammiversary,
really? Wow.
yeah, but it was their they were very happy with the numbers for it, and I
Yeah.
thought it was a better pay per view than Slammiversary
Hmm.
because I think Slammiversary teased a lot of things, and what ultimately played out didn't really catch anyone by surprise. I think everyone knew who was going to show up. You know, they were waiting for that. Like, holy crap, I wasn't expecting this, and that didn't happen. And they had a weird build where they were teasing, you know, the aces and eights and things like that. Team Canada, you know, and there was no payoff to that. Like, I know you're trying to keep people guessing, but there's got to be a payoff. You can't just, you know, make stuff disappear in air. Like, Hard to Kill. I mean, I remember, dude, watching Hard to Kill. I was like, dude, this fucking pay per view is amazing. You know, I enjoy the whole damn thing. And with that being said, I said this last time we were talking. I think that the sacrifice card is just like I said with the last Impact Plus show they did. Like, they're going hard on putting this card together, and I know it contradicts what I've said in the past of, you know, putting out Impact Plus shows with matches that don't mean shit. But I mean, I look up and down this card, dude, and there's first time matches on there, and there's some like pretty high. I don't care how high stakes, but there's some big matches on here, and I worry that they're not going to have anything left for the pay per view.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's one of two things. You either get a match you've seen before, or you get a match that you've never seen before. Like, there's no those are the only two options whenever you're watching a wrestling match. But I mean, it's some of these Impact Plus shows. It's like I want to see Eddie Edwards versus Larry D. You know, like, it's a match we haven't seen before, but it's not a match that requires a whole build because it's not that, like, there's enough intrigue to a first time match as it is without just like giving away too much. I don't really know how to explain what I'm saying, but this is like a straight up pay per view card, which is which is awesome, which is great, but I don't know what the hell they're gonna do for Rebellion. I'm worried that they're gonna put all their eggs in this like main event basket,
Yeah.
and the rest of the card is gonna be kind of just stuff we've been watching over the
Yeah.
last few weeks, you know. But
Yeah. Well, there's little things, that are building somewhere, right? Like, we saw the big knockouts brawl to end this last episode of Impact, right? There's things that are building. There's something gonna happen with Brian Myers. He's somebody who's been, consistently in. I would say he's almost been in like the Moose spot, right? He's been like just consistently doing good stuff, and you know, and doing fun stuff at pay-per-view shows. And so again, like, he doesn't have to be on like a Goldberg streak, right? But you can just steadily build somebody little by little. And so there will be stuff. There will be stuff that they can lean on for the pay-per-view. And I'm sure that they already have stuff in mind. So, we'll see.
yeah, you got to trust. I mean, I'm trying to trust that they know what they're doing. Do you think there's a possibility at the Sacrifice show that someone does show from AEW to create some kind of new feud? Because the Knockouts division is what I'm looking at. Um, if Deanna beats, well, she's gonna beat ODB. I mean, put, uh, I'll bet anything on that. And then
Hmm.
Fire Flava taking on Jazz and Jordan. Like, those girls are the champions are gonna win, and when they win, there's nothing for them to do after that.
Right.
You know, I have to feel, I have to believe that there is the women are finally going to get in on this from AEW or maybe even another company. Who the hell even knows at this point? But do you feel like that's next? Like, do you think the women are something's happening with the women here soon?
Uh, whew, as far as some Impact AEW action,
Yeah, because I just can't even imagine
I'm
what
gonna say
kind of.
no, and I'm gonna tell you why I'm gonna say no, because
Okay.
AEW, outside of Britt Baker, AEW does not seem to give a damn about the women's division. And So I don't know. Now, actually, now that you mention it, if they don't give a damn about their women's division, then they could say, "Hey, go work some Impact tapings," right?
Yeah.
So, so now that you mention it, maybe, right? Because Impact, they need people. They need people to just come in and just work with somebody for a little bit, for a couple of weeks, and get to a big match. And if that's the case, then if AEW has people that they're not doing anything with, it makes sense to send them over. So I wouldn't be shocked. Now that you mention it, I would not be shocked if we saw a woman or two from AEW pop up on Impact over the course of the next few weeks.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be Sheeta because, I mean, you're already doing champion versus champion with the guys. I don't see
Right,
a scenario where they do that with the women too. But I've talked about this a lot. Like Ivelisse and Diamante, they won the women's tag team tournament for AEW.
right.
Diamante has a relationship with Kiera Hogan. Like it just, to me, it makes a whole freaking. I wouldn't be surprised if Diamante doesn't go to some of the Impact tapings to hang out when she's
She probably
available.
does. She's probably there at a lot of those shows
Yeah,
if she's not doing anything else.
She was at Hard to Kill.
Right.
So man, I just feel like that's coming. I just feel like it is. That's kind of an established tag team that they have who's not doing anything at the moment. They've been doing a lot of AEW dark stuff. And then, they're obviously familiar with Diamante. So
Mm-hmm.
I see it, but uh there's just nothing, like there's nothing for these girls. What once this is over, like you can't go back to continuing a program with Jazz and Jordan and ODB. Like I don't know. I
Yeah.
I just think it's coming.
Yeah. It's tough to say. They gotta find some way to breathe some interesting life into these matches. I mean, make stuff that people are excited to talk about. Kiera and Tasha, they are fun and exciting to watch, but you got to give them interesting stuff to do. Don't keep expecting them to make something out of nothing. Do some fun stories. Put on some give them a chance to do some high quality marathon matches, or just something that people are going to want to talk about. Right now you're just giving them anything and expecting them to come out there and do something entertaining. And to their credit, they've done that, right? They have done that. But it's time to give them some support, right? Put them in some interesting storylines, not Swingers Palace. You know what I mean? Something fun that people want to watch and talk about later.
Totally agreed. Totally agreed. Let's run down this card here.
Let's do it.
Some of these matches we might focus a little more on than others because a couple of these matches, they're just matches. This is a pretty. It seems like it's a larger card than a typical Impact Plus show, which tells me maybe we're not going to have someone just randomly show up because it doesn't. I don't even see how there's room for it. It's crazy.
Right.
Um, with everything I just said, by the way, the one match that they're not rushing is Trey Miguel and Sammy Callahan, which I think
Right.
clearly will be for the pay per view, but neither here nor there. So the World Tag Team Championships are on the line. They just announced that the Good Brothers will be on AEW next week versus Moxley and Eddie Kingston.
Nice.
So it's hard to believe that Eddie Kingston was twice on Impact and just they never even trusted him to wrestle.
Right.
And
True.
he's that segment he had with John Moxley tonight, as we're recording this on a Wednesday. I mean, it was pretty good. I just felt like there was a lot they could have done with him, but again, as I just said, neither here nor there. So the Good Brothers taking on Finn Juice. Um, they blew their load on this one pretty quick. This is something I thought was going to be at the pay per view when they announced these guys from New Japan, and I think they've wrestled once, maybe twice, and they got a world tag team championship match. And the minute these guys wrestled, the Good Brothers came out. I mean, they didn't waste any time having these guys mix it up, and it's kind of showing you. We talk a lot about the tag team division. I mean, they have nobody also. a lot of these champions in Impact, the tag team champions, men and women, and the Knockouts champion have no contenders. Like there's no legitimate contenders for these titles.
Right.
So now you're pulling from outside the company, which you can't do forever. But they are taking on Finjuice, and I guess I'm intrigued by it. But I'm intrigued by a good build, and I like waiting for something. I'm not this instant gratification type of dude. Like I would have loved to just let this go somewhere for a couple months, but they let it go somewhere for a couple weeks instead. So, do you have any interest in this match with these guys?
I do have an interest in this match because it offers a little bit of the unknown,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like uh I like, wanting to know more about, Finjuice, about why they're a big deal. And the more that they're letting, Finjuice and the Good Brothers interact with each other, you're seeing that there is a backstory, there is a history, there's a prior relationship to them. And so if you got on one hand this tag team, the Good Brothers, that you're presenting as being this great big deal, and on the other hand, you got this tag team who I haven't really seen before, but they appear to have a legitimate beef with the Good Brothers, then let's see what they're talking about. So I'm interested to see, what type of match they all put on, when they get a chance to do something fun. So give them time, man. Give them time and sell me. That's how I feel. I do have confidence that they're gonna do something good because the Good Brothers are, one of the priorities, right, of Impact. So I would think they want to put out some good product. So I wouldn't see them having, a match that's not interesting, not fun, not well constructed, where they don't have opportunity to do some good stuff.
Yeah, and just like I called last week, that match with Good Brothers and Finjuice versus Reno Scum and Triple XL was just a glorified squash match. Like they wrestled the teams. Good Brothers took on Triple XL, and then Reno Scum took on Finjuice. Triple XL and Reno Scum had no chance of winning those matches, and then they had no chance of winning that 8-man tag team match either. Um, yeah, I worry about this tag team division quite a bit. Actually, I hope that they I hope that they build it up, man, because this was a pretty badass division a year and a half ago, and
Yeah.
now it's like bare bones.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do to try to breathe some life back in this thing. Because, like you said, they had a bunch of teams and now they don't. Now they don't.
So the Impact's Knockouts Championship will be on the line. Do you want to make a prediction on that Impact Tag Team match, by the way, or
I'm gonna go with Finjuice. I'm gonna say Finjuice gets the win. Is it for the titles?
yeah, it is.
All right, so in that case, I'm gonna say the Good Brothers get the
Okay.
win. If it was a non-title, I'd say Finjuice wins so they can keep the story going.
Yeah, I would say the same. The Good Brothers, and I think there's going to be a. I hate to say it, but I think there's going to be a triple threat at the pay per view. I don't know with who, but I think that's where it's going. So, um, I'm but at this point, every match for Rebellion to me is I'm already expecting a triple threat or 4-way match.
The
I'm not expecting any.
Triple Threat Rebellion.
Yeah, I'm not expecting anything one on one except whatever Eddie Edwards does because
Rebellion, a night of triple threats.
yeah, no kidding, man. So let's talk knockout championship match. So it's Deanna versus ODB. Lewis pointed to something out on one of his podcasts that he's just like, ODB lost to Kimber Lee, and Kimber Lee doesn't beat anybody, mind you. Like it's
Right.
very very rare that she wins, and she beat ODB, but somehow ODB ends up with a knockouts championship match.
That follows logically. Makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. So I will say, and I've said this before, ODB she's in like very good shape right now. Like I'm very impressed with how she looks, and I follow her on social media, and like it's by design, in the words of Eric Young. But so this match I don't have much interest in, but I don't think we've got a bad like Deonna Purrazzo match yet. You
Yeah.
kind of like you were saying about Rich Swann earlier. I mean, everything Deonna does is so good. and I think it'll be a good match for that reason. I don't see her having a bad match with anybody, but it's I'm just not enjoying the knockouts division a whole lot right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're totally right, and I think it's, they had, again, similar like with the tag team division. It looks like they had people, and now they don't. You know, like again, I talk about this till I'm blue in the face. Leading into what was that Slammiversary or Bound for Glory, I thought we were going to get a Kylie Ray Deonna Purrazzo match that I was really looking forward to, and the division just hasn't been the same since. Ty is gone, and Tyler's gone, Kylie Ray's gone, and it just doesn't have that same look and feel of a division that could have multiple good matches at any moment.
Right. I think I tweeted that out just a couple days ago that since Kylie Ray left, it hasn't been the same. The division was pretty promising at the time. You could always use a couple more knockouts than what they have, but it was pretty promising at the time, man. And Taya was a huge loss. Um, that's not one you can replace very easy. But I mean, if
Right.
you think 2 years ago, you had even Tessa Blanchard up in there. I mean, it was a pretty good division. And since Kylie Ray left, who I thought was just their biggest free agent signing in a while, it just hasn't been the same. And uh, I don't know who they're going to get to replace these girls. I don't think Jazz and ODB is the long term answer there, and I'm sure the company doesn't think that either. But the one division that Impact has where I think they can recruit legitimate talent is the knockouts. Like I think that they always provide a good home for women's wrestlers,
Right.
and I don't think they'll ever truly have a problem recruiting women for that division. But one thing that they've been doing the last several years, man, is the division is always full of I shouldn't say full, but there's always like two or three girls who don't really wrestle, or like for instance, Alicia doesn't wrestle that much. She's just in Swingers Palace. And then you got, the Susan character who wrestles, but she can't really wrestle. And,
Right.
I brought this up several times, man. I remember when they debuted on Pop TV, I was, my girlfriend at the time, we were watching, and I was kind of like, hey, this knockouts division's pretty legit. So then I kind of pulled up the roster online, and then I was like, damn, none of these girls fucking wrestle. Like, I mean, no, you know what? No, I pulled up the roster. It was a couple weeks after they debuted on Pop, so there a couple debuts happened. Rosemary, Maria Kanellis, but then I'm just like, dude, Maria doesn't wrestle. Rosemary doesn't wrestle. Raquel doesn't wrestle.
Right.
And then they added Allie. She didn't wrestle, and I'm just like, dude, I I don't know. Like I see that again, where I'm like, okay, you've got girls, but they're some of them don't. You can't get matches out of them. So I don't know. I just one of these women's matches, dude. Someone is coming out. I'm calling it. They have to. Someone has to come out.
Right. You feel like they just need somebody. They need an injection of somebody. But this is one of the problems with Impact Wrestling, especially when it comes to the Knockouts division. And this is a similar problem that they have with the X division, which is they like the legacy that was previously created for these divisions, but they're not necessarily living up to those legacies with the current product, right? So like with the Knockouts, right? The Knockouts were the original women's division that was showcasing the women for being great athletes who could have great matches. But now they're not doing that. Like I was saying a few months back, this division had Kylie Ray and Taya and Jordan Grace and Deonna Purrazzo. And I'm like, bro, if you have that group of four women, they need to all four of those women need to be wrestling each other in some crazy great matches. You know what I mean? Like Taya and Tessa had a really good series of matches. Then Taya and Jordan Grace had a really good series of matches. But they never, again, same thing like I said with Rich Swann. These matches happened, but they didn't make them feel like they deserved to feel. You know what I'm saying? So ultimately, these things fall on management, right? Because you're not giving us women who are presented as big stars, and you're not when they go out there and they perform at a high level, you're not treating those performances like they're big deals. And there's a fundamental like divide in the way that they present their women's division. You have the Deanna Purrazos of the world, who their talent is being a great wrestler. And then you have the Susans of the world, who their talent is being a great wrestling character, right? And Impact has always been much more a fan of the great wrestling character, right? And in building their stories around more wrestling characters, they neglect to give us great wrestling.
Right. Good point. And yeah, these titles have some really, the history is, I mean, deep behind these titles. And the current champions, a lot of the time, they're not really living up to that. Dude, I was watching All Star Weekend, man. Did you watch it? The dunk contest and everything?
I watched some of it. I was watching something with my wife, and
It
oh, actually, you'll love this. We were watching Bombshell, the movie about the Fox News scandal with all the women and the
Yeah, yeah.
sexual harassment, which is actually a pretty good movie.
I've
It was
wanted to
interesting.
see that. Yeah.
It was an interesting watch. But anyway, I think my wife got up to go to the bathroom or something, and I switched to the slam dunk competition for a few minutes. It was okay.
So I thought of Impact during the All Star Weekend, man, because you have this environment where there's no fans, and then they start showing these old clips, where there's all these fans, and then
Right.
you have this contest, which the dunk contest, I'll say I was entertained enough. I've seen worse. I mean, at least they made their dunks. Like there's some where the dudes go and miss 5, 6 in a row.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? So there was just a handful of misses this time. It wasn't that bad, but people were saying this was just the absolute weakest dunk contest in the world. But I had to think of I was reminded of Impact, man, because before the dunk contest, they're just like, coming up next is the dunk contest, and it starts showing clips of Jordan and Dominique dunking, you know, classic dunk contest, Vince Carter dunks, and it's just like, yo, do they know that this group is not going to live up to that?
Right.
Like, you can't show these classic moments, dude, and then go to the current crop of dudes you got dunking. I mean, you're just
Well,
completely setting
also
them up for
like
failure.
another thing that I think is a fair comparison, right, between the like Impact flashbacks and those clips from the old dunk contest is the stuff that those guys are doing then is stuff that guys do now and doesn't get nearly the same reaction.
You're right, right, right. Yeah, very. Yeah, no, very true, man. That there's, I really thought it just reminded me of Impact. Dude, I got to comment real quick. When Christian Cage debuted on AEW, like I knew that Impact
Uh-huh.
was going to tweet something about Christian Cage. I mean,
Yeah,
I knew it, dude.
now ever since you mentioned that, I'm just keeping an eye out for it every time it happens.
I mean, they're quick with it too. And so I actually clicked on the comments this time for the Christian Cage stuff, and I was actually shocked how many people were really happy that they posted that. I
Wow.
really expected more people to kind of have a opinion like me, and there were plenty. Don't get me wrong, but that were kind of like, all right, kind of reaching here, reaching for clicks. Where a lot of people were like, really, oh yeah, thank you for posting this, and yeah,
Right.
I was surprised by the positive reaction, which it just caught me off guard, but there were some people who were just like, "Oh, great cross promotion," and I had to comment like, "This is not cross promotion. Like, this is this guy used to wrestle here. You're promoting a
Right.
guy or another company. There's no mutual benefit here. And
That'd be like saying they're cross promoting whenever they show a Lashley clip or an AJ Styles clip.
right, exactly. And that's what that was. And then this one guy was just like, this is good marketing right here. And now you start saying the word marketing and you're pissing me off. Um, and I really respectfully, very respectfully, I requested. I was like, well, yeah, it is a form of marketing to take advantage of trending topics. Because I mean, I think when Tessa Blanchard was in the news for leaving Impact, like, you think I wasn't jumping all over that with my content? Like, of course, like that is a content strategy. I was like, but with good marketing, it also comes with you know momentum in your direction. Like there's some kind of gain for you, whether it's monetary gain or buzz or something like that. Like, that's not marketing to post a Christian Cage clip like that. Oh, someone's like, well, people are going to sign for Impact Plus now. I said, no, they're not.
Right.
Just because you posted that, like, that doesn't change anything.
No, that was a great point. I remember you talked about that. Like you mentioned the empty clicks, right? Like people clicking on it, but they're not gonna, stay there and subscribe and be fans of the current product. They're just looking at, oh, hey, this WWE guy did something a long time ago.
Yeah, that's all it is, dude. So I'm just like that. It's not marketing. This is not. There's no benefit for them. They're not it does nothing for the current product. But I wasn't as mad at them posting the Christian Cage thing because um
Because you
there
expected it.
well, yeah, number one, I expected it, but there is a relationship between AEW and Impact, so it didn't bother me as much as like when they posted Taya's video when she signed with NXT. Like, that's the kind of stuff I'm just like,
Yeah.
you know. And a couple of weeks ago, I put people up on YouTube Game. I'm going to put you up on some more. This is what concerns me a little bit. When YouTube has an algorithm, when you upload the same video, the YouTube knows that you do. So you, like, when they posted, oh, the Taya Valkyrie debut, like, they've posted that before, and YouTube knows when you do that, and if you do that too much, they will demonetize your channel.
Huh.
And that I'm that's part of what worries me is I think they get a pass because a little bit more leeway, I'd say, because they have so many subscribers and legit views from all over the world. So there's probably more leeway than a channel like this one if I were to keep doing it, But they will get demonetized if they keep uploading the same videos multiple times. And YouTube also punishes you when you do that, and they don't put it out to as many of your subscribers when you do that. So
That would be interesting, right? If Impact got demonetized.
yeah, that wouldn't be good, man. I really think that their YouTube has a lot of potential to bring some real money in, man. If they just had a real plan behind it. But I know I talk about that every week, so let's move on. But that is a concern of mine that they're gonna get in trouble uploading multiple videos like that. But we'll see. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Let's talk the Impact X Division Championship. So this is TJP versus Ace Austin. Again, this is kind of like TJP with Josh Alexander, like, very rushed. This wasn't rushed like Josh Alexander was, because Ace Austin did have to win a tournament and then win a triple threat and then win a tag 6-man match and then a triple threat. So there was a path to get here, but when you go through all that, you're thinking, okay, is this the pay-per-view match? No. It's pretty clear to me that this match is going to turn into TJP versus Ace Austin versus Josh Alexander at the pay-per-view. Maybe.
I could see that. I could totally see that. What I was gonna say is that, it appears that they're certainly coming back to Josh Alexander, right?
Yeah.
Like TJP and Josh Alexander had an interaction in Swingers Palace where Josh Alexander seemed very, very, very ticked off at TJP, and TJP he was playing games, but then he got serious when he saw how serious Josh Alexander was. So it was clear to me that there's more to come between those two, which I'm okay with. And then you know we saw the match between Ace Austin and Chris Bay. So now Chris Bay, he has a claim that, hey, if how is Ace Austin the number one contender when I just beat Ace Austin, right? So, and by the way, that's a pretty star-studded X Division match, right? Like if you
Right.
talk about if the top four in the X Division right now are Josh Alexander, Ace Austin, Chris Bay, and TJP, listen, those are four people I want to stop and watch.
I
I
agree.
want to see what these guys are doing. You
Yeah.
give me those four guys, you give me any combination of those four guys, I'm watching.
Yeah, and I know I said a triple threat, but yeah, I'll throw Chris Bay in there. So I think it's going to be, I think we're going to see a four way. Um, I wouldn't even be surprised if it turns into an Ultimate X. I know we haven't seen that in a while, but I wouldn't be surprised if it turns into that. And maybe they get a couple dudes from another company. I mean, you can plug in random AEW wrestler, random New Japan wrestler, whatever into this and make it fun. But
But see, you know what I'd like to see though, instead of, because they always do the multi-man, they always do the Ultimate X. Like, okay, cool, do the Ultimate X, but do that for the number one contendership, right?
right,
Do
right, right.
and for the championship, give us a good match, man. Like if you got, like I said, any combination of those four guys, let them go out there and give us a banger. Let them go out there and give us a one-on-one NXT takeover style banger. Give us that. Because, like, for any of our listeners out there who watch NXT, those NXT takeover matches are phenomenal. Almost all of them, right? Like they will go 5 for 5 on outstanding matches on a takeover. Me personally, I can't sit through takeovers anymore because they do everything on every match, right?
Right.
But if you can structure your card in a way where we get one of those, then I will remember that match for the next few months, right? But if you give me 5 matches and every match is like that, then to me it's overkill, right? But like I said, instead of giving us just throwing all four of those guys into a match, why not put two of those guys in the championship match and then put the other two in the Ultimate X, for the number one contender, right? So that way we're getting our big X Division match and we're getting something to look forward to coming out of the show.
Yeah, I notice AEW kind of does that with their pay-per-views or some of their episodes where let's take this past pay-per-view. They had a number one contenders two number one contenders match. The tag team championship for the tag team championships, they had the casino battle royal,
Right.
and then they had the ladder match for the number one contender for the TNT championship. So yeah, instead of all these multi-man matches, like you can find ways to create like I get saying, oh, we need TJP and Ace Austin and Chris Bay and Josh Alexander on this card, so we have no choice but to put them together. Like, dude, why not have a one-on-one match and have the other two have a banger of a number one contenders match?
Yeah,
You
that
know,
listen, that to me, that's the way to go, man. That's the way you make people say, "Yo, this X Division is fire," because
yeah,
we can do the thorough multi-man match, and then we could just put two guys in a match, and they're gonna steal the show.
yeah, no, absolutely. Who do you think? I didn't even ask you about Deanna Prazo and ODB because I'm pretty sure you're not going to say ODB. With this match here, TJP and Ace Austin, do you think we're going to get a title change? We had no title changes at the last Impact Plus show. This is the only
Um,
one that well, no, I shouldn't say
no,
that because
I think TJP is doing pretty good as X Division champion right now. I would keep it on him. Do I think it's gonna happen? Um, oh man, it's tough, man, because part of me, I've been saying, I can see the youth movement going on right now, and a few of those guys that we just named are certainly part of that youth movement. So I could see them wanting to start shifting towards that, but I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say TJP is doing a great job in this spot. He is built for this spot. And I'm gonna say they stick with him. I'm gonna say they keep TJP as the X Division champion, leading into Rebellion, where they're gonna do something fun, something big, whether it be a multi-man match or kind of what we just talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ace Austin, don't worry, you're gonna lose, but you'll still get a title match because that's kind of how it works. It doesn't matter how much you lose, you'll walk right into a rematch. So
And you get to go home to Mean Gia.
I saw a picture she posted yesterday, maybe. I don't know. I thought of you. I was like,
Say
dude, I
less.
know
Say
TW
less.
likes this picture. um,
I gosh, I think I was on like, I think I saw her name on a Reddit thread, and there were some photos that I cannot be that I can't confirm, but I believe. You know what they say, no face, no case. But
right. Oh gosh. Okay. Oh wow.
anyway, moving on.
Yeah, moving right along. Speaking of knockouts, Fire and Flavor versus Jordan and Jazz. So, man, Jordan puts on some good ass matches with everything she does. But this again to me is just kind of feel like much like Deanna versus ODB, like kind of a throwaway match. We expected it. Clearly this is where they were going with it. Even though I wouldn't be surprised if Impact didn't do a title change here. I hope they don't because Fire and Flava deserve to like have these belts forever and really they're real homegrown talents within this company. So they just need to carry these titles forever. That's the way I see it. But
uh I'm calling title change here.
really,
Yep, I'm calling title change here. I think I think that uh Fire and Flavor are very entertaining, but I think that them scheming to get the titles back is similar to a baby face chasing the title. You know,
mm-hmm.
like they're your most entertaining act of that knockouts division right now. And so them scheming for a way to get the titles back, I think is more fun than them scheming ways to keep the titles.
Yeah. If they had more women, more tag teams in the division, and it's so funny, man, when they were teasing bringing the Knockouts Tag Team Championships back before they announced it, it felt like we had like 9 tag teams, and then you blink, and all of a sudden we have like absolutely nobody. So if if they were doing like the chicken shit heel thing and running from all these teams, a la like Edge and Christian back in the day, like they could really pull that off. But because there's no teams, you know, they may have to chase.
Yeah, again, they're your only real tag team act, right? And like they're breaking up Havoc and Nevaeh. Um, Tennille Dashwood's just kind of there, right? Like pair me with anybody. Alicia Edwards is just kind of there, pair me with anybody. And then, Jordan and Jazz have been together enough to where they kind of look like a team. Again, ODB, she's another person, just pair me with anybody. Deanna Perrazzo has her two goons, Susie and Kimberly. And they're not quite a tag team act, right? So Fire and Flavor is really the only real tag team. Um, so yes, I mean, so you got to keep them as a centerpiece. So to me, them putting them in the chasing position is, I think it's okay. It's a nice little refresher.
They had an opportunity to have a long-term tag team with Alicia and Tennille, but because they needed Alicia to be Eddie's wife for an angle for Eddie, completely blew that up, and now she's hanging out in Swingers Palace doing nothing. So,
Who among us does not want to be hanging out in Swingers Palace?
yeah. that freaking broom closet of a bar. I'm gonna fast forward here real quick because you kind of brought up Tennille Dashwood. Uh, you know what? We'll finish talking about this match and then we'll get into Tennille because I've decided who is her tag team partner needs to be.
Oh,
Yeah, it's probably a long shot, but so yeah, Impact Knockouts Championship. You think that the title is going to change? I'm going to go with Fire and Flava, but I wouldn't be surprised if the titles don't change here.
yeah, I'm
Um,
calling title change here.
okay, we'll see because that's possible. Because as I said, I really think someone is going to show up for one of these women, and it probably makes more sense for them to come out for Deanna, and because if Jordan and Jazz win, they can continue that program with
Here's
Fire
another
Flava.
reason why they need to freshen things up, because WWE is going on one of their spending sprees. Um,
Really?
they've decided to combat AEW and Impact and New Japan working together by signing up any and all available talent. So,
Yeah.
that means whereas Impact may have felt comfortable a month or two ago saying we can just find some women on the indies and bring them in for a few tapings, right now those options are becoming less and less real, right? So they might just need to freshen up what they're doing by switching the titles.
Yeah, I got you. They need to freshen things up in a lot of areas, but the more you say it, dude, I can see that title change happening. That'll we'll see. Before we get into the Eddie and Edwards and Brian Myers match, so we talked about Havoc and Nevaeh. They're taking on Tennille, Dashwood, and Caleb with a K, which is weird that Caleb's going to wrestle the women. Man, I've been thinking about this, and this is again like straight up fantasy booking, which is not something I try to avoid because then you start talking to yourself into what you think is going to happen. Um, I was like, dude, what character, what woman on Instagram is the closest thing to Tennille Dashwood? Um, I've been thinking about this for a while, and I finally came to the conclusion: the closest thing to Tennille Dashwood on Instagram is Danielle Monet.
Huh? Huh? Oh, wow. Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
I
dude.
can see
Like,
it.
yeah. I mean, if there's anyone that you were like legitimately wanted to make an influencers tag team with, like, and they probably know each other. I'm sure they do.
Well, they were both in that early era of NXT.
Right.
Like when Tennille Dashwood was Emma, you know, they saw her, liked her, and brought her up to WWE and had no idea what to do with her. No
Yeah.
idea what to do with her. They had her doing that popping bubbles thing with her hand, and that just went nowhere. And it sucked because, you know, they sent her back down to NXT as if she somehow like failed. And then she just redid her character, came up with the evil Emma thing, which is this character that she does now. And she was awesome.
Oh, I
She got to go
remember.
in there and work matches. And like, people, lots of people will talk about who has the best women's roster. It's NXT. It always has been, and it will be for the foreseeable future. Like NXT has just a backlog of talented women. And here's the trick: they give them good stuff to do,
Hmm.
right? Like NXT is a wrestling based promotion, right? So they give them good opportunities to wrestle. And so, yeah, Tennille Dashwood and Danielle Monet, I'm pretty sure they were both in that early era of NXT around the same time. I'd have to go back and I didn't watch it around.
They
I didn't
were.
watch it then,
Now that
but
I'm thinking,
I'm pretty sure they were there.
yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, they absolutely were. So probably a long shot, but I'm
It
just
might
saying,
not be
like,
that long of a shot. That actually, when you said it, it really made perfect sense.
yeah, it because I mean I know shit have been like really paying attention to Instagram because I follow a lot of women's wrestlers. I was like, she's teasing a partner. At least I feel that she is. Maybe she's not. I feel like she is. But I'm like, Renee Michelle probably could have worked because she's that her Instagram's very similar. But now she's on AEW Dark, and if you don't watch Dark, like once you're on Dark, you're on Dark. You're there for they keep you for a little while so that they can scout you.
Somebody
You know what I
said
mean?
if you're on AEW Dark, it's because you're dark. I'm just
No,
saying.
no, they're gonna scout you, so they're more often than not gonna keep you around for a little while. Um, but I was just like, you can't just like with Alicia, if that was her partner, you would have had to like create her. You can completely, you'd have to create a character for her that's not really her in real life. Um, but Danielle is like that. She's exactly like Tennille Dashwood. So we'll see. I talked to Danielle at a WrestleCon a couple years ago, and she was right next to the Impact booth. And when I walked away, I was like, dude, I should have asked her if she's ever going to wrestle again, and just kind of like point over at the Impact. Like, I'm a big fan of hers, by the way. Like, I was in WWE when I was still watching that product. Like, she's always been one of my favorites, believe it or not. So, I don't know why.
That makes one of us.
I don't know why. I can't really say why, but I just always liked her. But so the last match we'll talk about here, this hold harmless match. This is Eddie Edwards versus Brian Myers, and it's just a hardcore match, I guess. And we were saying offline, we were talking about it's all the same, dude. A hardcore match, street fight, old school rules, no DQ, falls count anywhere. Well, I mean, I guess the rules are a little different for that, but it's all the same shit with just different names. And I usually have very little interest in the hardcore matches. I just don't think there's like a play. There was a time where that was very popular, and now it doesn't do anything for me as a wrestling fan. I just think it's like kind of evolved past the get the trash can, the fake trash can out, and there's not even a liner in the trash can. What the hell? No, but the stop signs and the wet floor signs and the baking sheets and all, it's all so silly to me. So if there's more to it than this, I hope that there is, but from what I'm understanding, it's just a hardcore match. But I'm still
Yeah.
interested in it because I like these guys. What's up?
No. I was totally agreeing with you. Yeah, I mean, like, it's just like you said, it's just one of those matches, just under another name, and it
Yeah,
will be just the same as all the other matches are.
I gotta say now, looking at this card, when we were the Impact Plus show last month, I don't even remember what it was. The names are all one word, and I can't ever remember them. Uh, I think they put almost an entire roster on that card in
Right.
one way, shape, or form. Like this one, there's no. I give them props for this, for not, for having some restraint. There's no Trey Miguel. There's no Josh Alexander. There's no uh, the hell's his name? Zach Ryder. I don't know why I can't remember his name all of a sudden.
Matt Cardona.
Matt Cardona. There's no, like, so I give him props, man, for having some restraint and not just throwing everybody on there like they did last time. Um,
Yeah, no, you're right. Everybody doesn't have to be on every show all the time.
yeah, it's just it's refreshing. Like you need a break sometimes. Like I don't know if I very well could have said this a couple times on the podcast, but I just know I talk about it a lot. Um, Especially with my girlfriend, 'cause she likes AEW, so we watch that, and I'm always saying, dude, like every time we watch an episode, it's today we're gonna hear from Sting. Like they even tonight, dude. And I mean, I remember tweeting out like a good 3 weeks ago, like you know, uh, I did the whole nobody, dot dot dot, and then AEW tonight we're gonna hear from Sting. No, dude, and they've that shit means nothing now, dude. Like Sting was this big, like, oh my god, broke a record for T-shirt sales that day. Like, dude, it means nothing when he comes on their screen now. Nah, fucking thing. And like sometimes, dude, you gotta let shit breathe.
Right.
You know. And I said this with Tessa versus Sammy Callahan and OVE I said that for a long time, dude. Please fucking let this breathe. And they just refused. And it does a lot when you just don't. I remember watching pay-per-views as a kid and not everyone was on the card, and it just made you look forward to the next time they wrestle. Like it's not, you know, they had some restraint here this time around, uh, so I can dig it. But I'll say that this card as a whole, it looks pretty good. Do you think that Eddie, like, I think Eddie Edwards is going to win this match though, because I think they're going to build him towards eventually facing like Kenny Omega or something. That's just my personal thing, but
Whew, man, man. You know, Eddie Edwards versus Kenny Omega to me, ooh, that doesn't sound like a good
Wish.
fit. Doesn't sound
Really,
interesting or exciting at all. Um,
the promos would be rough.
but also, Brian Myers has been on a roll, so I could see him losing to Eddie Edwards. Like, there's no shame in losing to Eddie Edwards because Eddie Edwards is a big dog. So he could afford to lose to Eddie Edwards and not lose any steam here. Um, but I'm going with Brian Myers.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you get a match that allows you to cheat. So get a heel doing something dirty to win.
Right, right. Dude, I love Brian Myers, man. I've been so it just every time he speaks, I'm paying attention. I just I just enjoy the shit out of him, man. So I hope that big things are coming for him because
I
he's
think so. I think, like
yeah
I said, I think they have a little bit um, of a building process that they're doing right now with a few people who are going to be big key characters going forward, and you gotta let those people cook. You gotta let them cook.
yeah absolutely. And then the last match, I already talked. I mentioned my fantasy booking of Danielle Monet, but Havoc and Neve is going to take on Tennille and Kayla with a K. So oh, there is another match here. I forgot they added something, but yeah, Havoc and Nevaeh, they're going to win this match. Let's just be real. I don't see because this. I don't know. It's kind of screaming comedy unless Tennille has a different partner, but it just screaming me comedy a little bit if Caleb is wrestling the girls.
Not so fast, my friend. They have been teasing a breakup angle between Havoc and Nevaeh. Nothing gets a breakup angle rolling faster than continuous losing. So
Okay.
I think Caleb and Kay with and Emma, I'm sorry, and Tennille Dashwood are going to get the win here.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Caleb is a good soldier, man. He's been pretty good soldier to Impact over the years. I remember they initially signed him, dude, and they didn't debut him for like almost a year,
Crazy.
and then he did nothing, and then they paired him with Trevor Lee, which was pretty good, and then he left, and then he came back. He's done Suicide, and he's done this, so he's a good soldier, man. He's clearly in good graces with the company.
Right. He's a utility player, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Um. Oh god, there's more. Crap. There's two more matches. I'm scrolling down here at this list, and I'm like, dude, I just didn't realize there's so many matches on here. So we'll get into these last couple real quick and then wrap it up. So James Storm and Chris Sabin, they're gonna have Jake something in their corner versus Joe Doring and Diener with Eric Young. You know, I'm just gonna say spoiler alert. This most likely is leading towards a 3-on-3 match at the pay per view. Uh, I fully believe that that's gonna happen. I'd be shocked if that wasn't it, but.
Yeah. And I
Uh,
think in the larger thing, in the larger scheme here, this is part of Jake something's story. So I think we'll end up with the bad guys getting the edge here.
I think so too, because Jake did beat Diener in that table match, and then you're kind of thinking, okay, well maybe they're going to move on to do their own thing, but they're kind of still having this feud here, like it's not going away. I know I made a pretty hot take saying that Bully Ray was going to be Jake's partner versus these dudes because of the whole table thing. Hot take, and clearly that's not happening, but this should be a really good one, man. We've talked about Joe Doring before. Like to me, he stands out in a weird. Like he doesn't fit, but it's fine. He's just the big dude. He's the muscle. It's whatever.
Uh-huh.
But let's talk about Jake here for a second. this is the dude. This is the dude that I think they see something in, and that I really think they need to put their effort into. I don't. We'll talk more about this offline. I don't think Josh Alexander is going to be back after his contract. As much as he
Mm,
like is screams, as much as it screams, okay, homegrown superstar right here, build this dude. I don't think he's. I think he's going to take off. I really do. Um, so I think that this is the guy that they really need to put something into, and he can really be one of like the main dudes for this company because they've done a lot for him in a very short time,
right.
and we've quickly forgotten about the cousin Jake stuff.
That's
Like,
true. That's true. The cousin Jake stuff has gone away pretty quickly. And yeah, I totally agree. I think Jake something is a guy who hasn't been on national worldwide TV yet. And he definitely is the type of face to continue to build around. So, you know, yes, like they need to do more and more that features him. That's interesting stuff, right? The stuff that we'll be going back looking at in a video package when he's challenging for the world championship.
yeah, absolutely, and I don't know. I just expect huge things from him. So again, they had a little restraint here. He's just in their corner. They got him on the screen, but they didn't force him into a match that wasn't there. Maybe he does. If this isn't a 6-man at the pay-per-view, which I'd be shocked if it wasn't, we might get a program of Jake versus Eric Young here soon. That's a possibility.
Yeah, it makes sense though because he's kind of working his way through all the members of Violent by Design, so that actually would make sense.
Yeah, I just hope they don't break Diener up from Violent by Design because they're trying to play this thing where Eric Young's belittling them, and these guys are trying to come to the rescue. Like Violent by Design, they got a good thing going, so I hope that continues.
Don't schmuck it up.
So who do you think take? So are we thinking Violent by Design? You said they're going to win, right? I think you already said that.
Yeah, I see Violent by Design winning here because that necessitates another match.
Right, right. The last one is, and we probably don't have much to say about this. Is Decay versus Reno Scum. I say it all the time. I'm a Reno Scum fan. I like these guys. They don't win a whole lot, and I don't see them winning this match either. Most likely Decay is going to take it home. So probably the opening match. Decay's pretty cool right now, man. Like I'm enjoying the return of these guys. I think I actually like this version of the group better than the Abyss one. I have
Really?
I
That's
have better.
interesting.
I mean, I think I'll ultimately always have better memories with Abyss, but I don't know. I'm just really enjoying it. I think just because it's kind of, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just, I don't know if when it's all said and done that they were better, but I'm just
It's
into this.
Black Taurus. That's what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Push you
I'm
over the
into
top.
this. Yeah. So, but I mean, I'm sure you think Decay is going to win. Also, I don't even know.
Um, yes, of course.
Yeah. But
They just don't treat Reno Scum like anything. Any reason that you would expect them to win, right? That's just going off of what they've shown you.
and they're good too, man. That's what I don't understand. Like maybe maybe they got to find a way to tweak the gimmick into something that they feel more comfortable getting behind. You know, I don't really know. I thought when they added them to Ace Austin a while ago, I thought that was good for them. It aesthetically wasn't the best fit in the world. I mean, they didn't look like a team, but
It kind of made sense though. To me, it
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
made sense.
yeah,
Like every big hill, good hill needs at least one goon.
yeah. We talk about the tag team division being, how shallow it is, but we forget. I mean, this is a team too, Decay.
It's true.
So I mean, who knows it? But this really this Decay really breathed some life into Crazy Steve, man. Because when they brought him back and he was like a little more menagerie Crazy Steve than Decay Crazy Steve, like it was just a comedy character in a
Yeah.
way. And now it's like, dude, I mean, it's impressive. I just now I'm into him again. Like before, I was just kind of like, all right, it's whatever.
Yeah, they could definitely make something out of this act. I'm not there yet with it, but I see the potential.
Yeah. So it would be cool if they did something with the Good Brothers, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. But I just think it would be cool. So, and the difference with this decay is that it's a babyface group as opposed to before they were a heel group.
Right.
You know, so we'll see what they do. But this looks like a pretty good show. Looking forward to it, especially that main event because we just want to know what is going to happen. So it's cool to have a main event that like truly means something. And they've come a long way with these shows. Again, like I said, I think they're going a little hard, but that's not necessarily a bad thing as long as they able to give us a fresh card for the pay-per-view that we're invested in. But you know, if there was ever a match that meant something, it's this main event. So it's
Yeah,
gonna be really interesting to see what they do.
I know. And this is kind of a one match show, but what a match.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So that will be this Saturday. You got any closing comments you want to say at all?
Nah, man, I just want to give a shout out to everybody who's, watching and listening. Feel free to write your comments in the comment section below. You can tweet me, tweet BQ, and let's keep these fun conversations going online.
Hells yeah, hells yeah, hells yeah. So we will be back next week. We may talk sacrifice, we may talk impact. I don't know. We may have a different topic for you guys, but that'll do it for us this week. Thanks for checking us out. We will talk to you all soon. Peace.
You're